Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to the April blizzard happening here in Nebraska. Right now it's actually starting to snow even more. When I first started this video in the painting, it had seemed to settle down a little bit, but now we're getting a little bit more. And my dogs are very rowdy today, I think just because they haven't really been able to go out to run it off. So they've been kind of in the way all day long, but you know, they're cute, so I'll forgive them of that. And today I'm just going to do my Plein Airpril, and I'm going to basically do the same scene. I'm going to sketch the tree across the way in front of the little house, but I'm going to try to challenge myself today to kind of take a little bit wider view. I'm still going to do a square format for the sketch. I really like the square format, but I'm going to try to just include more of the scene. And in particular, I want to include some cars that are parked in the street because I really like the way that the light is reflecting off of them. This is how I sharpen my Prismacolor colored pencils. If you have ever used Prismacolor pencils, you know that they're extremely soft and therefore they break really easily. And for a long time, I tried my best to just be really careful using traditional pencil sharpeners. I even bought a pencil sharpener from Prismacolor that was supposed to be better, but honestly, this pencil is so short, not because I've really used it all that much, but because it's broken so much and I've had to resharpen it so many times. And I have learned that sharpening these pencils with just a straight razor blade like this, a single-edged razor blade, is actually easier than you think that it would be. I had always assumed that this would be a recipe for disaster, you know, because if you accidentally apply too much pressure, of course you're going to break it, but actually you have so much more control and you can really feel how soft the wood is and how soft the pigmented wax is that makes up the core of the pencil. And so I've only had a few breaks doing it this way, and I think a lot of times it was because my pencil was previously compromised just by the more common techniques of sharpening pencils with like a little device that you stick the pencil into and then you just, you know, spin around the pencil until it's sharp. And for some reason, that never really worked very well for me using these pencils. So I am really happy that I finally got around to trying this out. Again, it's much easier than expected, and I find that I get a better point and a lot less breakage. And I needed to sharpen it today just so that I could get in more details into the sketch. I'm going to try as best I can to use up some of this paint that's already on the palette, so I'm trying not to add too much more right now. Just a little blue, a little yellow, red, and black. I know that I'm going to need a little bit more black for this composition. But I have a lot of white on my palette already, and the white on my palette is the M. Graham Gouache, and it reactivates really easily, so I'm not too worried about that. And that's the main reason I haven't actually washed this little palette off, because I don't want to waste any of that white especially. The other colors I pretty much do use up each painting session, just leaving a little bit behind each time. And I find that having, you know, a messy palette doesn't affect my color mixing all that much. So I've been a little bit more relaxed about that lately, which is kind of nice. If you've seen my watercolor videos, you know that I always like to have a clean palette when I start. So this is a little bit of a challenge for me, just kind of mentally getting into it and, you know, starting fresh when my palette isn't fresh, I guess. But I also think that it's a little bit more of a mindset thing for me, and maybe something I could work on. I don't know. So I'm doing this little sketch. I wanted to just have a lot of the snow in the scene, so changing up the composition quite a bit. And I really want to, first of all, capture the light again. And it was so beautiful out there just like a minute ago, so I'm going to try to replicate how it was just a little bit a go. It was very similar to the sketch that I did yesterday. Of course, I'm doing all these sketches pretty much at the same time of day each day. That's just how it goes when you've got a job that you get off at 5 and that's when you sketch. So the difference though today, of course, is the snow. So there's going to be a contrast between the light hitting all the branches on the tree, like the main tree, and then some of the more distant trees, and then kind of the cool bluish white snow. One thing I really struggled with in this composition was the road, because it was obviously a lot darker than the snow, but I didn't want to leave it just, you know, one single color, and so I kind of fiddled around with it a bit to find the right way to get some nuance into the concrete. Overall, I think that it turned out okay. It's not too distracting. I don't think it was necessarily like really successful. It wasn't quite what I was going for, but it's good enough, and it's not the focal point of this composition anyway. I think mostly just the colors are the focal point. And I wanted to, like I said, include some of the light that was reflecting off of the car and the truck parked in the road. I kind of saved those for last when I was using a smaller brush, so I think that those turned out pretty good. I left them really loose and blocky, and I really like that look. It's something that I struggle to pull off myself, but I really like when other people manage to do it, so I was pretty happy overall with this sketch. Oh, and again, I'm using my Cottonwood sketchbook, and this is a really great sketchbook for gouache. I'm actually just using the back side of the same sheet that I painted on yesterday, and since I don't use a ton of water in my gouache, this works out actually really well. So this is a really nice sketchbook. There isn't really any texture on it, but it's nice thick paper. I'd say it's thicker than cardstock. And it's toned, and it has kind of a nice grainy look to it because it's recycled paper, so I really like that too. And I did try to leave some of the paper showing through in this composition as well, but it's a lot more subtle. So right at the beginning of the painting, where I painted the top of the sky kind of that light blue color, I actually left the sky that's a little closer to the horizon. I left that just the color of the paper, so that's very subtle. And then I left that lighter side of the central house and the house that's kind of behind it. Those are just the color of the paper as well. And then I think that's about it. That's where I left that color showing through. So subtle, but for me that's important because sometimes, again, you know, I just struggle to kind of slow down and intentionally leave some things just the way they are and untouched. So here I am just adding the glare to the vehicles. It's a really small detail, but I feel like it makes a huge difference actually for the composition overall. So I like how that turned out. And that's pretty much it. I used a lot of dry brush in the branches of the tree and in the snow just to give the appearance of just a little bit of texture. Piled on some white in the end, and that was pretty much it. So I really like this sketch today. You know, sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't, and you just keep going. You keep trying, and you just get better and better and better, right? All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night. Bye.